Welcome. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. I'm your host, Ace Harris, here with the flyest person in the building, Meah Evans.
Y'all, listen, by the time y'all watch this, Ace would have turned another year older, so send our man some happy birthday love.
You know what I'm saying?
How you feel, Ace?
I feel okay. Like, my mind is good. Man, like I said, I've been getting sick a lot. I need to go see a doctor. So I need some Eastern medicine.
What kind of tea you drinking?
This is throat cold, lemon. Okay. I've been on ginger, turmeric, throat cold. I've been on Arden's Garden. I'm on Mucinex. I've been doing a lot of things, and I'm just like limping into my 40s. Like it's just progressively getting better, but not like super fast. I was on antibiotics a week ago. I don't know, man. I don't know. Pray for me.
How you feeling being 40?
40 feels great. I mean, I feels good. I guess my mind's been here for a couple years, but it feels. You know what it is? This 40, I don't feel like my parents, how I view my parents. I mean, my kids may say different, but I don't view my 40 the way I think that I view my parents, in that I don't feel aged out.
Yeah.
I feel more mature and like seasoned and wise, or not like washed.
Yeah.
Not like laundromat, double spin cycle.
Worn out. Cooked. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
I mean, but I have to, with that, you want to still maintain wisdom and not move like you're 30. So just because I am 40 and feel lively and youthful, I'm 40, so I have to like be mindful of my energy and how I dispense, delegate, regulate everything I do, because you can still go 100 miles per hour, but it'll probably wear on you differently than if you were like 30. So that's what I'm thinking.
Your healing's different.
For sure. You wake up the next day, you're like, dang.
You feel it.
You're young, so you ain't got them problems. He's like, yo, Ace, I'm getting older. We are. Either you're getting older or you're dying. So
no, listen, I literally heard, I forgot what I was doing, but Cray said that he was like, once you get of a certain age, you live and die. And I was like, well, dang, so you heal different. And I was like, that's just you.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? But one time I sprained my ankle, bro. And when I tell you, it took me forever to heal. I was like, I should be back like this. And my doctor was like, well, yeah, you're not 16 anymore. You can't just heal like that.
Talk to him, young lady. Well, speaking of age, I was getting my hair braided yesterday, and one of the ladies who was in there was a client of my hairstylist. And they were just talking, and we were talking about where I was from, and somehow the conversation of like civil rights came up. And this lady happened to be from Arkansas, and she graduated high school in 1968 in Arkansas. And so in that conversation, Meah, she's talking about what was it like to grow up in like the civil rights era.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And I was and this is a good segue into our conversation today. I was like, I was so impressed because I was asking her questions. She was like, yeah, they rezoned the school. So I entered into a predominantly white school in my freshman year, left the black school. You had the option to either go, once integration started, you had the option to pick. My parents picked me to put in the white school, and it was a crazy experience. She's like, I remember going to the movies. You had 2 entrances for the movies. And so as she's talking about this, I'm thinking like, I'm turning 40. I mean, she's clearly an older woman, but she's not like 90. She's like, I'm like, wow, the generation that's probably a couple steps away from me. Like what happened in the 60s is so close to it's so like fresh and relevant.
It wasn't long ago.
Bruh. It was so like recent.
Yeah. So
whenever there's pushback about conversations about race, history, even what we're going to get into today, people kind of make it seem like it's just an ancient moment. It's like, nah, this lady grew up in this. Yeah. And she's sitting right here with me talking to me about how she couldn't go to the movie theaters through, there was 2 entries on the movie theater. So, I mean, so we're going to be talking about, Juneteenth today, which is like a complicated subject for people who don't get it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very relevant and fresh conversation. I mean, what do you think, Meah?
When it comes to Juneteenth, we were talking about this off air. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I didn't want to bring it up only because I felt like my black card was gonna get revoked by me saying it. But I remember the first time I heard about I know the first time I heard about Juneteenth was I was on a radio show co-hosting with a personality, and my sister and I were doing it, and he asked us live on air. He was like, "So what are y'all doing for Juneteenth?" And we were like,
yo,
what's that? It was embarrassing, and he didn't help because he made sure we felt bad about not knowing about it. He was like, y'all never heard of Juneteenth, but never even took the opportunity on air to even educate us what it was about. Just kind of made us feel like completely in the dark about it. And it wasn't until after that show I got on my phone.
In the dark or in the white?
In the right. But no, he was a black guy, you know what I'm saying? So he was like, making us feel like, you should know about these things. So after the show, I looked it up, and that's when I educated myself on what Juneteenth was. And I felt bad because I was kind of like, dang, well, am I the only person that doesn't know about this? Like, should I not bring this up to other people? Is this kind of like we know, like, but everybody else doesn't know? And it isn't until, like, I would say, as years have gone on, it was probably like 4 or 5 years ago, as years have gone on, awareness has been brought forth,
That's
a federal holiday, which is amazing. So I'm happy that's gotten more of its awareness, but I didn't know about it until probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
What about you?
So I mean, I would say I'm probably closer to 10 years.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm 40, so that's still not a good.
When you do the math. Okay.
I'm right there with you, homie.
Yeah.
I feel like it was something that became aware to me through, there was a guy at my former church who was always like really big on activism and holidays. And so I think I learned about it through him, and then I began to, I feel like I didn't learn about it in school.
No. Oh, no.
They didn't teach that. So, yeah, I mean, I went to a predominantly white school, Gwinnett County. I didn't really have any overt racism. It was no discrimination. I mean, I had a great time, right? Mm-hmm. Being one of like a few black people all through my like middle school. I mean, each year it became more and more diverse.
Yeah.
But we didn't teach that kind of stuff. My dad was always really big on Black history, African history, so he would always drip things out to us.
That's good.
But on the flip side, Meah, my cousins who went to school in the west side of Atlanta, shout out Frederick Douglass High School, West Side Bankhead.
Yeah.
They got all kinds of Black history.
Whoa.
Like they got stuff that we didn't get. And so you think about the school systems and the culture, it's almost framed as if Black history is for Black people. When it's like, no, it's American history. Mm-hmm. So I just didn't get access to that stuff. So yeah, when I learned about it, I was kind of like intrigued. I wanted to learn more. And honestly, I would say the past 5 years is when I've really been taking hold of really understanding it, because I didn't really lean into it until like probably 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, you know same. Because even learning I don't know, it's like every year Juneteenth comes around, I dive a little bit more, like, into just like, just knowing more, making sure it's engraved in our brains the same way how every other holiday, the history of every other thing that we learned in school and our history books was engraved in us. I try to engrave this in my brain because this applies to people who look like me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think for the people who don't look like us and maybe don't understand its gravity, I think it'd be good for us to kind of rehash a little bit about what it is. Not that we need a history lesson, bear with us, y'all, but I think it'd be good to kind of like give context for what is Juneteenth. So, and I am no history teacher, so, don't butcher me if I mess this up, but again, it's good to kind of read this off. So, basically in 1863, Lincoln announced a proclamation declaring that all slaves are free. This is the middle of the Civil War. However, that information, there was no Twitter feed, no emails, no cell phones, nothing. So the information had to be manually delivered via, the horseback.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So Juneteenth, 1865 in Galveston, Texas, there was a General Gordon Granger, and he ordered the final enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation in Texas, which marks what we say the end of slavery officially in America, because that's the last day that they gave the final notice. They don't travel to all these places all over the Southeast by horse, telling these places, plantations. Imagine that awkward exchange. Hey, pull up on your plantation.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim Bob. So they got to go.
and it's funny because you would think that
Jim
would
Bob
be,
was crazy.
Imagine the emotion of being excited because you're free, but then like the frustration at the same time, being completely left in the dark. I saw on the site, it said 250,000 slaves found out during that time in Galveston that they were free.
Yo, that's a lot of black people.
A lot of people. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so curious to.
Can you imagine what do you do? Is it like?
It's like, what do you do? Like,
so we free? Do we like? Where do we go?
Yeah, right.
And then imagine like the slave owners.
Man.
Hey man, we're gonna take all your free labor, But it probably, I mean, obviously in American history, it wasn't a light switch. It was like an announcement. But in terms of affecting how the dignity of Black people, I don't think that's still an issue to this day. You know what I'm saying? So
that's real.
I mean, it's kind of like one of the things, Meah, it's kind of like proclamation doesn't necessarily translate into like freedom. It's freedom is something that you fight for. Saying somebody's free doesn't really make them free. Hey guys, you guys are free. But meanwhile, you've been in bondage for like 400 years. So I mean, that's part of the American history. That's probably why I push back on people that don't like talking about Juneteenth, because it's like, no, it's part of American history. It's kind of like it's such an important piece, and it's independence from a different lens. You know what I'm saying? I mean, say more. What do you think?
I saw how it's the U.S.'s second largest Independence Day. You know what I'm saying? So
crazy.
I think it's even, and I was going to ask you about this next. Like I make a point to celebrate. You know, like I shoot fireworks on Juneteenth. You know what I'm saying?
She's like, I'm making them for all the years I ain't know about it.
But I mean, yeah, you know, only because it applies to history. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And it's worth it. Have you grown to like celebrate Juneteenth? I mean,
I've been teaching
even your boys.
I've been teaching my kids. I mean, we all got June birthdays, so.
It falls in line.
So we've been to a few parades and just telling them about the history that, for whatever reason, and this is why, I mean, there's so much discussion and controversy about history and government in schools, what's being taught, because history really, like, who gets the victor, like whoever's in control and power gets to write the books. That's just how it is. Yeah. So history in America, from my upbringing, was told through the lens of people in privilege and power, which is predominantly white culture, right? So Juneteenth was not in my history book. They put MLK in black and white pictures in the 60s. When it was color photos at the time. So, which is a whole conspiratorial thing. But essentially, what was it? The Tulsa massacre. That nobody that was not in our history. We didn't know about that till probably what, 10 years ago.
Yes.
So these things were hidden from history. Whoever was controlling the history narrative wrote in what they wanted it to and whited out, no pun, what they didn't want us to learn about.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we have to celebrate Juneteenth, because it's important to tell the full story.
Yeah.
Just not pieces of it. And I think, I'm sure the Native American community has things to say about their, America has a complicated history.
Yeah, I think it's
that's what it boils down to.
And we were saying this off air, where I think it could be, you know, I'm pretty sure Americans aren't proud, you know, of how things went down. You know what I'm saying?
I know it was
you know what I'm saying? Like they're good point.
Sorry.
But as the truth comes out, we feel empowered, one, because we know the truth.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But then even also we're able to celebrate that truth. You know what I'm saying? It's worthy of celebrating.
I think when we come back, I think we need to talk about what Juneteenth really means for people like me and you, and what does independence really mean for people like me and you. Because I think we have to go into the deeper reasons of why patriotism has always been a struggle for people of African descent in this country. If we're keeping it a buck.
For real.
So yeah, we'll be right back, y'all. This is the 116 Life Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. I'm your host, Ace Harris, here with the drippiest, the coolest, Meah Evans.
We'll be right back, y'all.
Welcome back. It's the 116 Life Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. I'm your host, Ace Harris. Here with, you say your name.
Meah Evans. Okay. Listen, we're having a good conversation here talking about things like Juneteenth. And I want you to, we were talking about what it means for us to celebrate Juneteenth and like independence. You were talking about that before.
So I'll say this. Lecrae made a post on Twitter probably 5 years ago on July 4th. I think it was 2017, I believe. And he said, sorry, it wasn't a picture, it was a tweet. And he said, my ancestors were in slavery on July 4th, 1776.
Yeah.
And people got so frustrated, Meah. People was blasting him. The patriot, though, you know, the Christian patriots, bro, they like
right at dawn.
They
literally. Riding on them Twitter.
Jesus in America.
Right.
God bless America. Nowhere else. They you know, they ride for their country.
Yeah.
But I always push back. You got to pick kingdom over empire. I don't care what you will. I'm not saying you can't pledge allegiance to the flag, but your allegiance to the flag needs to be filtered through your allegiance to the gospel.
That's facts.
At all times. And I feel like in this country, and probably other countries too, there's like this weird prioritizing of nationality in concert with Christianity. And if you try to marry the two, it's going to create separation for how we really define what the gospel is. It's going to dilute the gospel. So people was blasting him, Meah, and you know what? I get why they were upset. Anytime you push back on patriotism in America, those groups of people get really offended. But if you're just going to tell the truth of the matter is, I don't really celebrate July 4th, 70. I don't.
Yeah, neither do I.
And I do appreciate America's a great country. I'm thankful for my parents to be immigrants that came here and found opportunity. I am patriotic in my respect for America's giving us opportunity. But I'm not patriotic in celebrating a day that was exclusive to people who were not. Yeah. It was exclusive to a certain group of people. I mean, what do you think?
It's difficult to celebrate a holiday about independence. Yeah. Where people who look like you and me everyone was not free.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So, and it really boggles my mind. I'm trying to think into why people were coming at Cray for something that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. I'm just really thinking about where that strikes a nerve. Sure. In the patriotic sense, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, I wonder, is it like when people say that, it's almost like the analogy I can best give. If someone is in a relationship and they had a past, let's say it's a husband and wife for context, and the husband made some mistakes. Let's say he, early on in the marriage, made some comments or actions or even abuse to his spouse. And over time, he stopped doing the abuse physically, but never acknowledged the abuse that was done. So how would the wife feel 20 years in about the abuse if it's never acknowledged, like, hey, by the way, this thing happened, so we're just gonna keep moving. Be grateful that we're still together. Yeah. Be grateful for what we have. And it's like, gratefulness shouldn't basically allow someone to forget the trauma that person inflicted on them. That's right. And I think that's a part of America's history that we got to address. Independence Day was a day to celebrate America's independence from Great Britain, but it wasn't a day for Black people to celebrate, because we were still while they were being independent from Britain, they were still enslaving Black folk. So it's like, I don't really know how to identify with Independence Day. Yeah, it's just hard.
But I've only felt like this since finding out about Juneteenth. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so yours is. You would celebrate July 4th before?
Yeah, because also my grandmother's birthday is July 3rd.
Oh, okay.
So like we would always make it like a thing, like, we'll do the 4th, and of course, being a kid, fireworks, seeing all those things. But it wasn't until then I realized, I was like, my people aren't free. So it's hard.
Have you had anybody challenge you on that?
Oh yeah. Who? Yeah, not even just African Americans too.
Sure.
You know
I get it. What have they said?
As if me. Like how you were saying earlier, as if me not celebrating 4th of July was me bashing the country I live in. And that, like you were saying, that's not the case at all. But I'm not going to completely ignore the holiday where all slaves were free. You know what I'm saying? Where, that's in my lineage. I don't know how far, like exactly who, but I know that's a part of my history. You know what I'm saying? And I was even thinking as you were talking, trying to figure out why people get upset. I wonder if they're thinking like, well, just celebrate the good. I mean, if you know what I'm saying? But I get that, but I want to celebrate all the good.
Yeah, that's so you feel like, okay. And I'm not saying I am saying I am advocating celebrating for America. I'm just saying the word independence celebrating independence is a struggle for Black people. That's why Juneteenth, to reclaim our independence, is a day we celebrate, because it's like, hey, 1776, the country was free from Britain, but we really weren't part of that. We weren't really, first of all, we weren't even considered citizens, number one. We literally were property. So we didn't become citizens until, 100 years later. Right. So how could we celebrate a country that didn't even acknowledge us as people, as human beings? So Juneteenth is a way for people to say, hey, we finally we have our dignity, not just in in practice, but in actual law, we are considered human beings. We can
citizens.
Now we can exhale a little bit and actually celebrate some type of independence.
Yeah.
And if you're not black, guess what? You should celebrate too.
I was about to ask you about that. Have you ever come across anybody who felt as if Juneteenth was just a holiday for African Americans to celebrate, and they didn't touch it?
I mean, I don't think nobody said it.
Or like acted as if.
But I think it's not even intentional. I just think a lot of times majority culture doesn't view those things as applicable to them because it's like, oh yeah, that's your little thing, and go do your little cookout and do your little parade. Good job, celebrate your But I wanna challenge all of us to like, especially from a biblical standpoint, if we're here to hold each other accountable, to celebrate with others, to really love your neighbor, then we need to celebrate independence, even if that independence wasn't necessarily affecting our culture.
Yeah.
It's independence for our brother. So we need to lift him up and celebrate. Pull up at the parade. Pull up at the cookout.
Pull up at the cookout. They give you the address.
Yeah, come on. I mean, well, not everybody. He said,
I said if they gave you the address. That's the only way you could pull up.
Yo. If they give you the address, is wild.
That's the truth, man.
Some of y'all ain't getting the address.
You ain't getting the address.
Why is that?
Why you want to
I think
light on that?
If you're going to talk about it, be about it.
I think sometimes
if they give you the address.
I think sometimes people
Why do I have a knife in my tea? Anyway.
I think it makes sense for you to be cautious of who you bring around. You want to bring around people who are going to be as equally celebratory of you. You know what I'm saying? People who also don't even make it, I don't know, people who can feel comfortable and make the holiday their own as well. Like how you said, like your little holiday. You know, this is an inclusion for everyone. I knew when the government passed it as a federal holiday, I thought that was huge, honestly. Because I mean, I didn't think that we would get recognized or our history, American history, would get recognized in that sense. And I think sometimes like you need stamps like that to be able to know that this is something that is for all of us.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, and that's why it's important. That's why we lean into the celebration. And like I said, from a kingdom standpoint, it's celebrate with those, love your neighbor. It's not ungodly. It's not ungodly to celebrate. Like people try to make it, anytime there's like carve outs for Black history, it's sometimes looked at like, well, why isn't there this history? It's like, no, it was birthed out of exclusion. So we're trying to preserve heritage that was lost, that wasn't celebrated. So it's not an exclusive thing. It is an inclusive thing. Celebrate us while we celebrate our independence as Black people. And you ain't got to be Black to join in.
No, yeah.
You ain't got to be. So I think that's important. And then back to the history books, I just feel like I would like to challenge, not that who I'm talking to is actually listening, but we got to do better of like telling the full story, telling the truth. I think God honors that. And I think in this very polarized political climate, Meah, and racial tension that has really been at the height since the 2020s of 2020, if you're trying to exclude truth, I don't think God's pleased. Like we have to tell all the story, all of it. And I feel like in America, there's this asterisk on American history where parts that we don't really want to talk about, we're going to sweep under the rug, want to kind of like minimalize. We're going to not tell the full story because we don't want to indoctrinate Black and white kids to think that America hates. But it's like America was founded on the idea that there was a hierarchy in racial class. That's true.
Yeah.
It didn't stay that way, but that's how it was founded. That doesn't take away America's beauty. I think the story of America that's beautiful is how can you redeem that start? And that's the American story, is redeeming the parts of it that were tough. Yeah. But trying to sweep it under the rug and skip past it, I think it's unbiblical.
Yeah, that's so well said.
It's unbiblical.
Because the truth will set you free.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And I think in a way, hiding that information or overshadowing it or downplaying it suppresses us. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Like it's just we're you're keeping something that's so important
For sure.
from us. You know what I'm saying? And the more we know about it, the more it's celebrated. And I think that's also another bad thing is that just because we celebrate doesn't make it doesn't diminish America. While there are some hard truths that did take place, however, there are great things that came on the other side of that. You know what I'm saying? So we were able to still be free. So therefore, let's celebrate what it is. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, we could be able to shine a light on it and not keep it anymore.
No,
you know?
that's so good. That's so good. Yeah, I want to talk about when we come back. I want to talk about some of the commercialization.
Oh yeah, bro.
Of on one end we're saying celebrate, but on the other hand we're saying celebrate well. And we have a side. We have a. Makes us uncomfortable. Yeah, we can say more when we come back. This is the 116 Life, Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 140. I'm your host, Ace Harris, here with Meah Evans. We'll be right back, y'all.
And we're back here on the 116 Life here on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. I'm here with the Big 40. See how I did that? I'm here with Ace Harris, man. Meah Evans checking in, talking about Juneteenth. We were talking about how important it is for the holiday to be celebrated, but how over time, because we were saying how even Juneteenth was marked as a federal holiday, 2021, which is so wild.
How do you feel about that?
You know how we said earlier that it's curious how the people slaves felt at the time when they heard they were free, but also kind of like, wait, but how come we were still over here working while y'all were free?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that with the holiday. It was kind of like, okay, great, it's a holiday, it's recognized, we can observe it, it can get its awareness. But this should have been a holiday long before.
Yeah.
You know? What about you? What did you feel?
I think that it was necessary. It seemed reactive to the year before, like with George Floyd, protests, BLM, which sometimes those moments create the necessary reaction. It's a good decision, but it came on the backs of there being so much tension in the culture, in the country. And so that the government it felt like the government had to respond with some type of initiative. Like, hey, we see y'all going crazy in these streets. BLM, we got y'all. We're going to
fix y'all. We fixed it. Yeah.
The campaign thumbs are amazing. Like, so I feel like, overall, I feel like, it was needed, but it was late.
Yeah, no, for sure. I literally before we aired, I called my grandmother because shout out to our producer Joe and our engineer Matt. We were talking about how I didn't know about Juneteenth, but Matt was saying, well, maybe your grandmother or your grandparents celebrated it. And I was like, I'm gonna call her right now just to see if she did. And I talked to her and she said, well, yeah, I knew about it. But in the back of my mind, I thought, this should be a holiday. Like, we should celebrate this. But she never did. She didn't start celebrating until I knew about it. And then our whole family would charge to cook out and things like that. But in the back of her mind, I thought that was interesting. In the back of her mind, she knew back then when she knew about Juneteenth that, oh, well, this is worthy of celebrating. And it's great that we're talking about the celebration of it all on the other side.
Yeah, for sure.
There's been commercialization of it.
Definitely.
And it hasn't been the best. I remember reading one time about Walmart when they were putting out decorations, and biggest thing was the Juneteenth ice cream. You know what I'm saying? Thinking that it was going to be a hit, with the red velvet swirls in it and things like that. And they faced a lot of backlash when it comes to, I think, what they thought as celebrating, but wasn't received.
Yeah, it felt like pandering a little bit. What did you think about when you saw the ice cream?
I was curious. I'm not gonna lie to you, but something about it, I don't know. I really couldn't put my finger on. You know what? Sometimes something doesn't feel right, but you just couldn't put your finger on it. Yeah. It's like beyond the flavor. I want to know that, but putting Juneteenth on it, it didn't sit well with me. Then seeing that, them taking things down, apologizing. It's like, okay, so I wasn't the only one. What have you seen the commercialization of it? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
It just felt, why, first of all, why are we doing Juneteenth ice cream? Like,
yeah.
Like
that was a part of it, but then also the red velvet. I was kind of thinking are you do that because that's a popular black dessert?
If they'd had like a watermelon flavor, I would have lost it.
Oh, bro.
I just think it's just, honestly, first of all, it's just lame and it's just dumb. Mm-hmm. It's just, Who was in the marketing room at Walmart?
Don't you always ask questions like that?
Who greenlit this decision?
Yeah, like who gave this a okay?
Yeah. And I'm like, was it a black person? It could have been. It has to have been.
It probably was one. And like, sometimes when you're, of course, the minority, you're the only one, and you get a whole bunch of yeses, you're kind of like, well, maybe it's not until it's not.
But what's the purpose of having Juneteenth ice cream? Is it?
But that's what I was saying. I think it's, you know how some people, they try to do, I remember one time I was at an event, a family gathering, and everyone's predominantly black except one person. And they came in the room and said, all right, I just want to let everybody know I got watermelon ice cream in the back if everybody wants something.
No.
And we all of us looked around at each other. But I say all that to say that sometimes you think you're doing the right thing, celebrating, but sometimes it doesn't get perceived.
Hold on. Did this person make it out?
Yes.
So were they being funny, or they
no? But that's what I was trying to get to. I truly believe he had good intentions. I do.
I'm trying to keep a straight face, and I can't.
But I think with places like Walmart or other places like that, I would like to think they have good intentions. You want to join in the celebration. You think, well, what can we do that would make everyone feel? Why not give some red velvet? And you think of it as a good thing when it doesn't.
It reminds me of
what?
Shout out Lecrae. This happened in 2020 at the Passion Conference with Lou. Him and Pastor Louis Giglio had a conversation about race and relations, and the CEO of Chick-fil-A, Dan Cathy was there, and there's a couple things that was said on that podcast. We ain't gonna get into all because it's since been addressed, and Craig's already said his piece. But the part that made me, outside of the comment, what made me more uncomfortable, me and my wife was watching it at the house. We was like going cheer to, and then when Dan Cathy got up, bro, and started like shining Lecrae's shoes as a sign of like washing his feet to pay homage, I was like, yo, this is bad.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, it's kind of hilarious. Look, it's kind of like goofy.
Yeah.
But like, bro, get off this. Get off.
Right. Get up, man. Yeah.
And Lecrae clapped back and said, how about some Chick-fil-A stock?
Right.
And which I think is, shout out to his wit in the moment. But it's just there's people that want to join in and to celebrate. Maybe they just don't know how.
Yeah.
So they do sometimes the goofiest things, like Juneteenth ice cream, shining people's shoes, wearing dashikis, like some of the Congress people wearing dashikis.
Bro,
it's just like, yo, y'all gotta chill. This is not, we don't want to, be yourself and celebrate what we're celebrating.
Or I think even another great thing is it's okay for you to say that you don't know. It's okay for you to say that I don't know what Juneteenth is about. It's okay for you to say, well, what do I do for this holiday?
Sure.
Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's also great for us to educate each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, not leave each other in the dark, not let each other feel bad about not knowing. You know what I'm saying? I think it's noble for you want to celebrate, but I think it's also, it also does justice to be able to educate and even correct, even speak up and say, well, I don't think that's a great idea. I admire the celebration. That's great, but let's do it another way. I think sometimes people get ashamed in not knowing, therefore they don't know what to do and they act on their ignorance and then therefore it backlashes.
Yeah, because they're trying to sometimes make up for the wrongdoing. So they feel this burden to course correct. When really to correct is to just like allow the culture that was traumatized to lead the celebration. You just follow them. You don't have to. In fact, you ain't gotta do nothing really. You don't have to like take control, which is an issue with sometimes dominant culture anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, you could just sit back and let the black folks handle this. You know what I'm saying? So I think it is complicated. I've seen it. I mean, support for Juneteenth and companies just doing the most. It makes it feel like we're here just for a business. We're here to commercialize this moment. We're here to benefit from this movement or this culture, and we're gonna basically put our brand on it, and as a way to make us look relevant to your issues. When really, it's about business to me. So I almost would rather some companies and brands not do anything. And this is so sometimes people are asking for people to speak out on certain things. And I sometimes don't like the idea. I'd rather, if you don't really authentically support, then I'd rather you not say anything.
Anything at all.
Or if your support is nuanced, I'd rather you not say anything. Because I feel like now it looks like you're virtue signaling or pandering for profit or for commercialization or fear of missing out. I don't want to be the brand or company that doesn't look like I'm supporting Black issues. So I gotta say something.
Yeah.
But what if what you're saying you don't actually believe, or if it comes across like that and you're messaging, which is what that ice cream signified. You know what I'm saying?
How do you feel about even bringing things to the church? Like, have you seen churches shine light on Juneteenth? Like, have you seen anything like that that's caught your eye?
I've seen. I haven't seen a lot of celebration from like predominantly evangelical white churches. I've seen, seems like predominantly Black churches lead the charge. But I wonder if some of those other churches don't really know how to engage those conversations too. Yeah. Well, and my wisdom that I would give them is like, you don't have to program anything. Why don't you just, hey, you know what? Why don't y'all pull up to a Black church one Sunday and just come over here, and we'll educate you, versus making these little cultural touch points in your culture, which is one of the issues I had with the Louis Giglio Lecrae thing. It was like, let's come, we're gonna bring Black people into our space to educate us. It's like, nah, why don't y'all come over here? Yeah. Why don't you come and you wanna see our true self? Come to our cookout.
Yeah, that's humility. Yeah.
Like there was there was a moment in Grammy week, I'm in LA, and I'm not gonna mention her name because she probably doesn't want to be mentioned. We had a party that we were going to, like an industry party, a day party. It was a YouTube event. It was an Afro beats, kind of a culture. It was a really dope event. And obviously, in light of our partnerships with Limo and Wande, Diaz had got us some tickets into the event. And on the RSVP, and it was me, Diaz, and another colleague. And so on the RSVP, it said, please wear African attire. And so they were asked, so my non-Black colleagues were asking me like, well, are we allowed to come though? Because we don't have anything. And they were just asking out of trying to understand. Right. And I was like, knowing how my Africans get down, I was like, that's something that they're saying because they want to see some colorful aesthetic in the party. But you can still come and just be yourself. Yeah. And you don't have to, we don't want you to wear anything African. Yeah. Just be yourself. And so I appreciate moments like that when they're asking questions about, well, how do we celebrate you? We want to know. And that takes humility. Yeah, it does. A lot of times, and people are projecting their own white guilt onto the situation and then taking the lead to try to fix what was done versus just asking questions and seeing how you can serve. And so that's my issue with the commercialization and the pandering and virtue signaling of, Juneteenth and other holidays. And yeah.
I haven't seen any churches do anything. And I was talking to off air about, like, I grew up in a predominantly Black church. Right. And I didn't even hear anything about Juneteenth in that sense. Like, should something always be done with the Juneteenth church? Like, I'm not saying like we need to have a Juneteenth play or like anything like that. We don't need anything like drastic like that.
That's a great question. How do churches embrace? Yeah, those things like patriotic or moments. I think acknowledging is fair and fine. Programming you have to just be sensitive to your demographic and culture,
your audience.
Yes, like on the flip side, when churches get super big on patriotism moments on July 4th, I'm like, I probably would feel that way about a Black church going too deep on Juneteenth. Like we're here to acknowledge and celebrate, and this is a thing. But I believe the church is for the gospel. So you can acknowledge. You don't have to redo your whole program because that can seem out of pocket too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I've been in churches where it's 4th of July weekend. It's red, white, and blue. Everyone's in their red, white, and blue. You know what I'm saying? And people or conversations were like, well, should we do something? And I think it's definitely worth mentioning, but I think the sensitivity part is huge.
It's sensitivity. Because we're going to do black, red, and green on Juneteenth. And you got your little babies in the Juneteenth.
Yeah, I think the main key is celebrate. I think you can just celebrate by saying something. But I think because like you were saying with the sweeping under the rug, we don't want to sweep. We would never sweep under the rug. American history.
For sure. American history is encompassing of Black history, slavery, racism, and abolitionist history, and Native American history. It's all encompassing. And to try to limit American history to one lens, it does a disservice to America. It doesn't allow America to shine in all of its beauty. It's encompassing. And I think that's the one thing I would say about Juneteenth and holidays. Just acknowledge everybody's story, how we can reclaim and redeem the great and vibrant history of America. Not try to like silo the bad things because it makes us look bad. That's whack.
That's real. Juneteenth definitely adds to the vibrant history, and I'm happy we were able to talk about it here. We're doing good. We got to talk about Black music, talking about Black, like that's just perfect, man. We're really, I'm happy we're able to tap into these things and bring it back home. Shout out to everyone that was tuning into this episode. Hope you all enjoy the holiday season, yes, the Juneteenth season. And that's a wrap here on the 116 Live here on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM Channel 140. Ace Harris, Meah Evans signing off. We'll see you guys next week.